Thanks for joining us as we prepare for tomorrow's storm, which could drop a foot or more of snow in certain parts of the metropolitan region. I'm joined here today by New York City Transit Interim President Sarah Feinberg, Metro North President Catherine Rinaldi, Long Island Railroad President Phil Eng, MTA Bridges and Tunnels President Danny DiCrescenzo. Our man in the field today is Senior Vice President of Buses Craig Cipriano, who's standing by at the Michael J. Quill Depot on the west side of Manhattan, where buses are being prepared for the storm. Craig will have more on that after Q&A. Now on to our preparations for the storm. The MTA has comprehensive plans in place for weather events like the upcoming one, so we can handle whatever comes our way. We've activated our 24/7 command center to closely monitor the storm. Personnel and equipment are at the ready so service can continue as safely and reliably as possible through the storm and its aftermath. Workers will be ready to spread salt and clear platforms and stairs of snow and ice and keep signals, switches, and the third rail operating safely. Crews are also on standby to remove downed trees that fall across tracks and attend to any other weather-related challenges. We urge everyone to use extreme caution while navigating our system during the storm, especially on outdoor platforms and stairs. We also advise everybody to avoid unnecessary travel. If snowfall is heavy, please stay home if you don't need to go out. Customers can check mta.info for the latest service updates and can also apply for real-time alerts via text and email on our website or through the MTA's various apps. Now I'll turn it over to Sarah Feinberg for more on New York City Transit's preparation. Sarah.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Good afternoon. New York City Transit is working closely with the Department of Sanitation and all of our other partners to ensure that we can keep trains and buses running smoothly during the storm. We'll be using snow throwers, snow blowers, and other de-icing equipment at locations citywide to protect our system. Our stockpile is sufficient. We have on hand 338,000 pounds of de-icing material, 63,000 sandbags, 77 truck-mountable snowplows, and 83 box trucks. Over the last few days, we've been planning for a Plan 4 or Plan 5 event. We've now shifted to planning for a Plan 5 event, which is our highest level of snow. We were going to stay flexible given the evolving weather conditions, and if we have to limit service in some sections of the system, particularly on our 220 miles of outdoor track, we're ready to do that so that we can avoid stranding trains, and we will restore service as soon as possible. The New York City Transit Incident Command Center will coordinate our overall snow fighting efforts, and we've upgraded a tool for tracking field reports on snow removal and station conditions, as well as a database of essential resources to enable better response times. The expected heavy snowfall has also prompted us to move trains from yards to be stored underground so they won't get blocked in yards. This will impact service on some lines with express service. On our buses, our entire fleet is being outfitted with tire chains. We have 35 snow fighters being deployed on predetermined routes that prioritize high traffic areas like terminals, layover locations, facilities, and other known hotspots. We're working closely with sanitation to keep routes passable and as clear as possible. Obviously, we want to avoid suspending bus service at all costs, especially during the overnight hours, but we will be prioritizing safety. New Yorkers should take note that articulated buses will be replaced by shorter buses starting tomorrow morning. Please do not travel if you don't have to. Please check our schedules for the latest service information. I want to thank the incredible New York City Transit workforce for all they're doing to get us ready and keep our customers safe, and for the last few days of planning and the next few days of critical execution. And with that, I'll turn it over to Metro North President Catherine Rinaldi.
Thanks, Sarah. We're closely monitoring the forecast, and right now the forecast predicts the highest snow amounts north of the city. So Metro North is preparing for the worst to ensure that we are fully prepared to provide safe service throughout this event. We may modify or suspend service if snowfall is heavy. Other conditions like strong winds also may cause us to curtail or suspend service, especially if there are frozen switches, downed trees, or loss of third rail or overhead catenary power. To prevent this from happening, we've installed nearly 1,250 third rail snowshoes on all electric trains to scrape off exposed rails. And for use during the rest of the season, we have another 2,000 snowshoes in our stockpile. And just to give you an idea of the sheer size of our storm prep, across the Metro North network, we have 635 track switch heaters ready to go, 220 portable snow blowers, 146 chainsaws, and 70 truck-mountable snow plows and salt spreaders. We are fully committed to keeping service running as best and as safely as we can, and we too encourage everyone to stay safe during the storm. For travel tips, please check out our guide to winter weather travel on the Metro North website. Many, many thanks to the women and men of Metro North for their dedication and hard work. They always rise to the occasion, and this storm will be no different. With that, I'll turn things over to Long Island Railroad President Phil Lang.
Thank you, Kathy. Safety is always the top priority at Long Island Railroad, especially during a big storm like this. To protect our riders, service, and our workforce, we made weather resilience a centerpiece of our Long Island Railroad Forward plan. Since Long Island Railroad Forward was announced in 2018, we've installed 100 snow switch covers, insulated 38 switches, installed more than 3,000 weather-resistant doorway threshold plates, and replaced more than 300 utility poles along the tracks. We know that we cannot control Mother Nature, but we can minimize service impacts and recover more quickly from storms by being prepared as possible. Our workforce, who all truly step up in times like this, are ready. Like our colleagues at Metro North, the Long Island Railroad has a serious stockpile of equipment and materials ready to go, including nearly 1 million pounds of de-icing material, more than 22,000 linear feet of third rail heaters tested and ready, 167 portable generators, and 250 cars equipped with ice scrapers and contact shoes, de-icer trains, and rail snow blowers. For those of you who don't need to travel and can stay home, please do so. If you absolutely have to travel, we will be running enhanced weekend service on Thursday. If the storm worsens, there's a chance we may have to further modify or suspend service due to the storm. And we have 4 modified schedules in place for snow clearing and storm recovery. Customers can check in real-time service information on the Long Island Railroad Train Time app. And now I'll turn it over to Danny Frasenzo, President of MTA Bridges and Tunnels.
Thank you, Phil. Our crews are ready to go tomorrow to keep MTA 7 bridges and 2 tunnels safe. I'll echo what Phil just mentioned. Please, if you do not need to travel tomorrow, please stay home as our vehicles will be out there trying to clear the roadways. Starting tomorrow at 4 p.m., we're going to have an empty and tandem tractor-trailer ban, which will go into effect until Thursday around 4 p.m., but we're going to watch the forecast to see if that gets pulled back a little earlier. To best monitor conditions, Bridges and Tunnels has activated extra staff to help throughout the storm and have allocated resources as necessary. Our employees deserve a huge thank you for the way they're preparing for this storm. We've assembled many pieces of equipment and material in preparation. We have over 8,300 tons of de-icer, 115 pieces of snow fighting equipment, including snow plows, salt spreaders, and snow blowers. Our bridges are also equipped with sensors that deliver real-time information about roadway temperature, wind speed, and wind direction, including wireless precipitation and humidity sensors. We use these tools to help us determine if speed restrictions are necessary. We will also suspend all non-critical roadway work during the storm. And in addition, Bridges and Tunnels has taken steps to ensure our customers' messaging and communication protocols are in place. Our Special Operations Division is working closely with our industry partners to ensure appropriate and adequate regional sign messaging related to our facilities. And with that, I'll turn that back over to the chairman.
Thanks. We'll take questions.
And a reminder to reporters, please use the hand-raising feature on your consoles to let us know that you want to ask a question. First up is Andrea Grimes of CBS 2. Andrea.
Hi, good afternoon. Hope you all can hear me. This question is for Mr. Foy and perhaps Ms. Feinberg. I was just curious, was there any thought given to actually resuming some overnight service so that people maybe could stay off the roads, especially essential workers they have to get in?
Well, look, let me take a shot at that, and then I'll defer to Sarah. We made the 1 a.m. To 5 a.m. closures in the interests of safety, so that every subway car and station could be disinfected multiple times a year, multiple times a day. That continues to be a priority. As Craig will with respect to bus service, we're going to do everything we can to run bus service as long as we can and do that safely in the interests of protecting our customers and our employees. But the 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. closure was driven by safety. That continues to be the case.
Yeah, and I'm happy to jump in for a moment. I mean, look, that 1 to 5 a.m. time period is also the time period when we're likely to be seeing the heaviest amount of snow. As I talk with Frank Giesecke and others on my team, it's possible that that's why we're planning for a Plan 5 event. It's possible that we could have so much snow at that point that we may actually be suspending some of our outdoor service. So look, I want to urge people to pay attention to the weather, pay attention to the forecast, give yourself a whole lot of time, stay home if you can. Obviously, we're going to run as much bus service as we can, but we're going to, prioritize safety. Generally, it's going to be, very tough to travel at all tomorrow night. And certainly from 1 to 5, when we're getting extremely heavy snowfall, it's going to be very tough. And hopefully we're going to be able to open on time on Thursday morning, but that could be a moving target as well, depending on, what it looks like between 2 and 5, 3 and 6.
And the next question is from Eric Bascom of the Staten Island Advance. Eric.
Hi, guys. Thank you for taking my question. So is there any plans tomorrow afternoon for some reduced service or frequencies on the Staten Island Express buses or on the Staten Island Railway? We've had instances in the past of people from Staten Island working in Manhattan kind of stranded during these weather events.
That's me. Yeah, hi. So, one thing I just want to say specifically in regard to express service, all of our express buses that will be out on the road tomorrow, specifically the afternoon when snow is about to hit, are equipped with an auto chain feature, which gives the bus driver the ability to deploy a chain to keep that bus moving throughout the storm. In regards to reduced service, there will be obviously I tell our customers to expect delays. There will be some small reductions in service, but the service that we're providing is anticipated to meet what we anticipate as the ridership. So we will be providing, full service throughout the event as long as we can continue to do that safely.
All right, we move on to the next question. Go
Sorry,
ahead, Sarah.
Tim, I'm just going to jump in on that's okay. I'm just going to jump in on Staten Island Railway too. I just want to make sure people are aware. If we do have to suspend service, we're going to give as much notice as we possibly can, but we're going to do it in the safest way possible. So we hope to give people an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours notice if something like that's going to happen. But obviously, our goal is to keep service operating, but we'll give you as much notice as possible. But people, it's important for people for folks to pay attention and know that we're going to prioritize safety, so it could move quickly.
Thanks, Sarah. Now we're going to go on to Dan Rivoli, who is actually the pooler up at Michael J. Quill. So Dan Rivoli of New York 1, next question.
Hi, I just wanted to ask about the changes in service. What's the likelihood, or when do you make the call of, say, limiting express service because you're moving the trains into the tunnels? What's a trigger people should be looking for if they know service might be affected?
We'll make sure that we alert people as quickly as we can. Look, the good news is we know the storm is coming. We've seen it on the radar for a couple of days, so we've been doing lots of planning. We'll let people know as early as we possibly can. If I'm out there paying attention to service tomorrow, it's just start checking, midday tomorrow, just paying close attention to what we're not going to make those changes midday, but might as well start paying attention, and the express service would probably make the change either during the evening rush or afterwards. Hopefully afterwards, assuming that the snow holds off.
And heading east now to Alfonso Castillo of Newsday out on the island. Alfonso, you're up.
Hi, everyone. A couple of questions for President Eng. Can you talk about the potential for suspensions? Does the threshold remain that 10 inches where it starts to interfere with the connectivity with the third rail? And if that happens, what are riders likely to see? Then I have a follow-up if you have a moment.
So Alfonso, yes, we're monitoring the weather as all of my colleagues are. 10 inches is a criteria. It's accumulation of 10 inches, but it's also the amount of wind and blowing snow. So it's something that we'll be monitoring. So there's a lot of things that we're going to do. For instance, the weekend enhanced plan for Thursday allows us to, for instance, single track in certain territories where we've been having known locations of problems in these types of events. So for instance, on Port Washington, we'll single track, and then on the other track, we'll be running snow finding equipment. And this allows us to continually clear snow as we're running service, and then we'll alternate when the time comes to shift over and address the other tracks. Obviously, we will give as much notice as possible if the weather deteriorates, but that's why we're also asking if people don't need to travel, they should stay home.
Then can I ask you about expectations for ridership? I know in past years when you had a big storm, you'd lose most of your riders and maybe be down to about 25%. This time around, you're kind of starting at around 25%. So is the expectation that you fall a lot from there, or do you hang on to most of those riders because what's left of your riders are largely essential workers?
Well, I would imagine some of the essential workers will still need to ride. That's why we're looking to protect service, and we're looking to ensure that the appropriate resources are in place to address those. But I also imagine that some of the folks that have the ability to telework, and those may be coming in once a week, and those folks obviously have the opportunities to pick a different day and telework. So we envision that the ridership will drop slightly. It's in everyone's best interest if you can, and we'll be monitoring. We'll be ready to serve those that need to use the railroad.
Thank you. Good luck.
And up next is Clayton Gusa of the Daily News. Clayton.
Hi, I have two questions, and then I got a second one I wanted to bring up. What are the signals looking like on the 7 train? Last year during a very light snowfall, the transponders were unable to locate trains on that line. I'm wondering if that infrastructure has been beefed up. How prepared are you on that end? And then also, how have you been in contact with the city when it comes to clearing streets? Department of Sanitation last month said that they were down 400 workers on the snowplow unit due to budget cuts. Have you talked to them about giving priority to clear bus lanes and streets that serve bus routes? Could you kind of answer those two? And then I have one more.
So on the 7 line, I'm just gonna have to get back to you, Clayton, and I'm happy to do that as soon as this press conference is over. I just need to check and get you good answers rather than try to remember off the top of my head. And Craig, I'll leave it to you. I know you've been talking, your team has been in close contact with the Department of Sanitation and have been having conversations for days, so I'll let you read those out.
Sure, absolutely. So we have our pre-storm season tabletop with sanitation. As Sarah said, we've been in contact with sanitation all through this weekend. We've shared a lot of data recently, as well as over the course of the last few snow seasons, so that sanitation knows just where our hotspots are, the routes that we believe are most vulnerable. And, we have a number of different ways to communicate with them all throughout the event, not only through the New York City OEM, but we have direct contacts with the highest level of sanitation. And we're continually speaking in regards to exchanging information and, asking where we might need some help. So we have full confidence in that relationship, and we anticipate, working closely throughout the storm.
And then slightly off topic, I'm wondering if Pat or Sarah, anyone over there, has a response to reports that Pete Buttigieg has been selected as Biden's transportation secretary. Obviously, that has a lot of implications for the MTA when it comes to grants and congestion pricing approval.
So, Clayton, news to me. Sarah?
Look, I think I'm massively supportive of the president-elect. I'm sure he's made a good decision here.
And we move on. The next question is Stacy Delicat of Fox 5. Stacy, your question.
Thanks. Yeah, I have two questions. Following up on the question about ridership expectation for tomorrow. I know we heard about Long Island Railroad, but I'm wondering, are all of the different units expecting ridership to drop off a little? Subway as well? Or is there some expectation that essential workers who are now driving because they don't want to take mass transit will now turn to mass transit again? And then I have another question after that.
We're hoping ridership tomorrow across the system is lower than normal. We're urging people to stay home if they have that option. Obviously, not all workers do, but we would expect it would be lower than the ridership levels we've been encountering the last several days and weeks. How low and how much it'll be affected by the storm, we don't know precisely.
Stacy, you have a follow? Just need to unmute. We're not hearing you at this instant. Just unmute, Stacy.
It's not letting me. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. It was saying the host was not allowing me to unmute myself. Anyway, the other question is about the budget. Obviously, the agency already having huge budget woes with ridership down. I imagine that there is money built in for snow removal, but having such a big storm this early in the season, what does that mean overall budget-wise?
Well, look, it's obviously from a budget year, it's towards the end of the year. The preparation and the response to the storm will not be affected by our financial issues, period.
And the next question is from Kevin Rincon of WCBS 880 Radio. Kevin.
Hey, can you hear me just fine?
We do.
Great. I just wanted to touch on prep. It's similar to what we hear a lot from the MTA in other years past when it comes to weather event in terms of when it comes to prep. I was wondering if there's anything different this time around because of the pandemic. I know my colleagues touched on ridership, but from the MTA prep side, I wasn't sure if there's anything different.
Well, look, we expect lower than normal ridership. The safety protocols that we put in place across the system will be respected. And that includes, we'll continue during the storm to include crew rooms, et cetera, work areas, and dealing with pandemic-related issues and doing everything we can to minimize health risk to our customers and our employees is priority one.
And we're moving on then to Christina Goldbaum of the New York Times. Christina.
Hey, I have two questions. The first is, Sarah, can you just clarify, you said that it's possible that the subway won't open at 5 a.m. tomorrow if there's a lot of snow and ice at the time. Do you mean the entire system, parts of the system? Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Sure. I'm not sure if I said I'm not sure if I specified what piece of the system. I'm obviously thinking about the outdoor pieces, and we'll be watching it very closely overnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5. We'll be seeing what's happening in those early morning hours. I think right now it should be tapering off at that time, so it should be just fine because we'll obviously be removing snow, but we're just going to have to keep a close eye on it. If this shifts a little bit and we end up with like 18 inches of snow right in those hours before we reopen, I just want to make sure I'm leaving us room to be flexible and make sure that we're prioritizing safety.
Yeah, and Christina, just for clarification, Sarah was talking about Thursday morning, not tomorrow morning, all right? Thursday morning is what the context was. Go ahead, Christina, your other question.
When it comes tomorrow morning, I'm not feeling ready.
Gotcha. And then one other thing, not on the storm, but I'm just wondering if, Pat, you can speak to, it's looking like probably $4 billion in the comprehensive stimulus package and what that means for the MTA's budget and discussions tomorrow.
Well, Christina, we've obviously been following those discussions closely and continue to do that. I think we're not going to count our chickens until they hatch, or whatever the cliche is. We're incredibly grateful for the support of Senator Schumer and Speaker Pelosi and the proposal that's been made by the Problem Solvers Caucus, and a federal funding, grant funding at that level were to occur. That would be a tremendously positive thing for the MTA in the short term. It's important to note that even funding at that level does not address deficits that will continue in 22 and 23 and 24. And our overall ask of the federal government continues to be at the $12 billion level. But we're monitoring those discussions and negotiations very closely.
All right, Pat, nobody else has their hands up either because you've answered all the questions with your colleagues or they're just that eager to see what Craig Cipriano has going on uptown at the bus depot. So I turn it back to you.
So, Tim, I'm sure it's scenario 2, and with that, I'll turn it over to Craig.
Thank you. So we're here at Michael J. Quill Bus Depot. It's one of 28 bus depots throughout the city that'll be performing chaining operations starting this afternoon. As Sarah mentioned, there's 2 key strategies for us to keeping those buses moving throughout the storm. One of them is to take our long 60-foot articulated buses off the road and replace them with 40-foot standard buses. To that end, we're moving about 700 buses in and around the city so that we can make service and have those buses ready for tomorrow PM. The second piece is to make sure all 2,800 of those local buses that are going to be out on the road are chained. So today I'd like to take you through a little bit of the chaining operation that's going to be happening right here at Michael J. Quill. That'll be happening at all 28 depots starting this afternoon. So why don't you come with me? So right here, we have a production line set up. What will be happening this afternoon is you'll have multiple production lines such as this with buses lined up that'll be pulled forward and the chaining operation will begin. So let us take you through this bus to be chained. So what's going to happen is we use ramps, as you see. The ramp is going to get placed behind the inner wheel of the back wheel. Right? That'll allow the front wheel to the curbside wheel to have access, like the maintainer can have access to that wheel, and then the chain will be deployed, and I'll take you through that. So the bus will be moved up shortly. As you see, when that bus is moved up and it comes up the ramp, you'll notice that this wheel will come up off the road, and you'll have access to the wheel. Okay, we're good. So now that the maintainer has access to the wheel, first thing he's doing is out of safety, we're going to put a jack underneath the rear of the bus just to make sure that there's no movement and that bus does not come down. So, and again, the jack is there. Okay. The next thing that will happen is that these chains are going to be deployed. The chains are going to wrap around this outer wheel here. And the point being is that you want the metal piece of the chain to really have access to the road and to bite into the snow as well as any icing that may occur to give the bus operators more traction as they're driving up and down the road. Again, this production line will be going on throughout the system at all 28 bus depots. We'll have approximately 3,000 buses chained and ready to go for tomorrow's PM when the storm is about to hit, as opposed to hit. As you can see, it gets wrapped around the tire, then it gets clamped together. So that's where it is now. I'd like to take you down to the other bus now and show you how we finish that up. Again, throughout this pandemic, the hardworking men and women of public transit have kept the city moving. And I just want to give a shout out while we're here to the men and women behind the scenes, all our maintenance folks that are working hard, not only during the pandemic, but to make sure that everyone can get to work and perform their essential activities tomorrow during the storm. So the last piece of this line here is the banding. What this band does is it brings everything together, it snugs up that chain tight on the wheel so that the chains stay on and keep a good contact right here with the road. One key piece of this is that we don't want to go more than 20 miles per hour on dry pavement. That's a key piece of this. So when these chains go on and they go out in the morning, you will see some slower bus service because these chains will tend to break if we do go a little faster than that.
What's the difference between?
We can ask you.
So Dan, I'll take all the questions in a little bit if I may. So thank you. What we'd also like to show you is down here, we have some of our snow fighting equipment. Right here, we have some plows, which you see right here. And this is the two plows here. These plows we use in and around our bus depots and our yards. Here at Michael J. Quill, we have a roof that we have to keep clear, as well as some sidewalks. Here on the end, I'd like to show you our snow fighters. We have 35 of these snow fighters that are going to be deployed throughout the city. Besides these snow fighters, we have 25 road trucks that respond and about 15 tow trucks that will respond when we have issues on the road. These snow fighters are there to augment the city sanitation's work. We use them on our hot spots. We use them on our turnarounds where we know we have known routes that require more attention, such as hills. They're equipped with brine. So we have a brine tank here, as you see in the front. They'll do some pre-treating of the surfaces. We do salting. We gather salt from sanitation throughout the event, and we throw down salt in those hotspot areas. And then finally, of course, we do the plowing, and they're all equipped with plows, as you see on the front. These are built in the sanitation spec, and they're very effective in augmenting all the hard work that sanitation does to keep our buses moving. So with that said, I'd like to turn it back over to the chairman, Pat Foy. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. So you've heard Dan Rivley in the background. He's the pooler. He'll be sending the tape and audio and video to each of you for your use. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be doing updates as appropriate, and we'll keep you and the public informed. Thanks for joining us.